Hello everybody, my name's Keith Moss. I'm a street photographer and I just wanted to hopefully inspire you by what I've been doing in lockdown. I'm not saying that you should be doing the same thing, but it may be you need to change the ways you think and the way that you react and so on and so forth, and that's what I've tried to do. So I have been busy every single day. That's the one thing I've really tried to do. I've got up every morning, I've got dressed every morning, showered obviously, and so on and so forth. And I've done something every day, even though, you know, I can't really do anything because my thing is people and street photography. So it's been really quite interesting to go through this process. We're sort of like 10, 11 weeks in now to this process. So what have I been doing? I'm an avid film photographer. I really don't shoot much digital at all. I would say 95% of my work is all shot on film, and it's all black and white, and it's all Ilford really, although I have been experimenting. I'll talk about that in a minute. So what have I been doing really? Well, I've been shooting other film. In particular, I've started experimenting with a cheaper film called Foma. I've been shooting it on 5.4, I've been shooting it on 35mm. I haven't shot any on medium format, but I've tried to shoot as much as I can over the last few weeks. Now obviously I can't shoot street photography because I'm not on the streets and there's nobody on the streets to photograph, although I have done some work in the respect of some of the street stuff I've shot just recently has been like empty shops, empty streets and so on and so forth, but predominantly it's people that I love. So I've tried to do something a little bit different. So as I say, I've been experimenting with film, in particular Foma, but only the 100. And I've been processing it in different chemistry. I've been processing it in ID11, which is my standard developer that I use, which is Ilford ID11. It's exactly the same as D76. Now I'm not saying all of you should go into the dark room and so on and so forth, because some of you will be film photographers, some of you won't, some will be digital photographers. I'm just trying to tell you what I've been doing so that maybe you can think about doing something different to what you would normally do to keep yourself inspired.
So can I just ask a question then, Keith?
Yeah.
So you say you've been using that Foma, but only 100?
Yes.
Why?
Because I've been told that the 400 isn't very good. Now, I can only go on what other people have said about that. It's not for me from what other people have said. But it's interesting because I haven't tried it. I've sort of tried the 100 on 35mm and processing it in a different way to standard. It's turned out really, really quite well. And it's obviously a very cheap film. Does that answer?
Yeah. Thanks.
Cool. So going back, that's my normal standard developer is ID11, which is great from all Ilford films. And to be fair, nowadays I only shoot Ilford films the majority of the time. So I've tried using Perceptal, which is an interesting developer because it's a developer I think which was designed if you're pulling film, so if you're going from say 100 to 50, it's really good. But even at standard development, it makes it much sharper. And it makes a less perceived grain, and it's a much tighter grain, and it's so much better. Honestly, it's fantastic. So that's been quite a revelation. I'll drop some images in to this particular bit of the shots I've done on 35mm, shot with Ilford Perceptal, and they were shots taken down in States. I have some here that I've printed. I'll talk about the darkroom in a bit, but let's have a look. There is a couple of images here. So that's one that's printed from 35mm. Now this wasn't a particularly good camera. I say a particularly good camera. It was shot on an Olympus XA2, which is a small little camera really. It's a compact camera. And to get that quality of print from that little camera, using the combination of a Foma 100 and Ilford Perceptal developer is fantastic. I mean, the quality is second to none really. So that's really interesting, but I'll drop some more in over this video. So, what are the other things that I've been doing? When I've been walking my dog Roxy. And when I've been walking my dog Roxy, I wouldn't normally take a camera because I'm usually into people, I'm into streets and so on and so forth. So what I've done is I've taken a camera everywhere I've gone, and it's been really interesting because what I've done is I've been looking at things in a totally different way. Just silly little things that you walk over on an everyday basis. And I'm not saying these are award-winning images, it's not about that. It's not about creating the best image that you can create. It's about opening your mind and just letting your creativity flow and just trying new things and seeing how you feel about them. So, going again onto going into the darkroom. So what I've been doing is I've been shooting them, taking the camera with me. Usually it's a mere little Olympus XA2 because it's really light, it's easy to put in my pocket. And then I'm coming back, processing it, and then the following day I'll go into a darkroom and print it. And that's a little shot. Now I'm not saying this is an award-winning image, because it isn't, but it's a nice image. It's an image I like anyway, and at the end of the day that's all that matters. The only thing that matters is whether you like it or not. And I quite like that. So I was just looking at things in a different way. And again, I'm going to drop in some more images in this particular section to show you the things that I've been doing while I've been walking, which I find quite interesting. It's not the stuff I would normally shoot, it's just a lot different to what I would normally shoot. But it's kept my creativity flowing, if I can speak. And it's also kept my interest going, which is really important. The two really, interact with each other, so it's really important. So, other things, I've been buying rolls. I mean, most of my stuff's going to be film, I'm sorry. But, at least I've been doing different things. So I've been buying rolls of Ilford, this is HB5, and I bought a little machine to roll my own, and it works out half the price of what it would normally cost you. But again, that's something different to what I've been doing. And it takes up a bit of time, and it's quite peaceful to do it. So other things that I've been doing is I've been processing film for other people, which has been really interesting. And it's nice to do that. Hand processing is so much better than sort of machine processing through dip and dunk. So I've even been processing old film from the 80s. I mean, this is a really old Ilford FP4, and on the back of it there, you probably can't see, but in pen, it's been exposed at 800 rather than 125. So that was interesting, processing old film and seeing, if I can get anything on it. And obviously, I have done. It's been really interesting that I've done it all by touch and feel, and then as you do it by touch and feel, you learn how to handle old film and so on and so forth, and how to develop it differently, and different timings and different chemistry, and it's really quite emulsive is the wrong word. It's quite a process that brings everything about your whole being in, if that makes sense. I can't think of the right word, but I'm sure you know what I mean. So again, I've been doing lots of different things. So I've been going into the darkroom and printing, as I've said, which I wouldn't normally have time for, to be fair. I would normally shoot the film, scan it, put it on the website, or send it where it needs to go, or so on and so forth. So I've been looking at some of the old stuff that I've shot, a few years ago. This was shot on 5.4, and this is fibre-based paper. Again, and I've been looking at the old stuff and printing it, and as I was saying, again, going for a walk, looking at things differently. Again, they're not award-winning images or prints, but it's kept my mind occupied and busy, and it's kept my interest, it's kept my passion going, so that when I can come back with a vengeance. And again, of my dog Roxy, so everywhere that I've gone, I've took Roxy with me, and it's just a lovely thing to do, something different. I'll show you some of the other stuff as well. We'll put some of them up. But another interesting fact is, I went to Whitby in the early days when there were nobody there, and I was asked to do a few shots and send them into a magazine in Australia, and also Shot Kit, which is a guy called Mark. It's a website where he sort of asks professionals and other people what kit they're using and why they're using it and so on and so forth. And Mark asked me to go and do a few shots, and he'd got some shots from all over the world, from all the professional photographers, and it went into like a blog, which was really nice, and that's one of the images that went into the blog from me, showing Whitby and no fish and chip shops open. So again, it's just being different. So you've got to think differently. I've also been in my van a lot and not driving about, but sort of looking at reconfiguring it and looking how when we put it together, I thought it would really work, but then in practice could do with a few alterations, so we've been doing that. I've been looking at my cameras as well, which is really interesting because I've got quite a few cameras. I'm not going to deny that. And do I need all these cameras? No. So what I've done is I've sort of gone through and built the kits that I want to build with large format, medium format and 35mm, and really getting rid of everything else because it's just clutter. And you often pick a camera up that's sort of like you haven't used for a while, and you're figuring out how to use it because there's this quirk about it, there's that quirk about it, when really I'm just going to stick to 3 cameras from now on. So I've really streamlined everything in my head. Also, I'm thinking about the future. What does the future hold for photographers? I mean, it was bad before. Photography is a really hard industry, and it was bad before this happened. Coronavirus happened, but now, how are we going to get back as a profession? How are we going to get that back when social distancing? I hear on the grapevine that social distancing is going to be in for 2 years, at least 2 years. So that's quite worrying. So I'm thinking about how I'm going to shift the business and how I'm going to alter my ways and make it work as best as I can. So there's a lot of things that I've been doing, and I hope that these things that I've been doing and experimenting with, not necessarily saying that you should do the same things, because we're all different people, we're all different photographers with different interests. So what I'm really saying is try something different. Whatever you've got to shoot it, even if it's a road sign or whatever, anything, just do something different. And it brightens your horizon, and you never know, you might get another interest. So just try and be a little bit different in the way that you think and in the way that you feel. Just experiment and do something every day. Whatever you do something every day, even if it's only 10-15 minutes. I've been working at least 2-3 hours a day, and then the rest of the time I've been sort of chilling out. But there's also worries there for me because of the business. I haven't earned anything in 10 weeks, as it were. So yeah, there's a bit of panic there as well, and what's going to happen in the future. But at least if you get up and do something and experiment and do something different, it keeps your interest going, and it keeps your creativity flowing, and it keeps your passion alive. So that's it really, that's all I wanted to say. Have you any questions?
Yeah, can I just ask, so a lot of what you've been talking about is using film and working with film, so would you say the same applies as far as experimentation is concerned? Would you say the same applies for digital camera users?
Yes, I would, because what you can do is you can change your process in the way you process. If you're using Capture One or you're using Lightroom or whatever, just change the way that you're processing the program. Look at learning different aspects of it, the program. Look at shooting different things. I mean, it's a really interesting point that, because I would only ever print on gloss paper. Everything I've always printed on has always been, you'll probably be able to see the shine, gloss. But what I've done is I've chosen a different way to print. So I'm printing on satin and silk, which is unusual for me. So the same could be applied in Photoshop or in whatever program you use to process your digital images. So just try something different. You know, different subject matter, different way to process it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you.
So anything else?
I think going back to, I know because you're normally a street photographer and I know it's more sort of photographing people as opposed to the streets, but have you found it completely different, or what's been the reaction if you have come across anybody while you have been, say, walking around Whitby? Have you met anybody? What was the experience like when you're walking around a town or whatever and there's nobody there?
It does
In
feel,
what way was it different for you? How did that feel?
it feels very different. In some respects it feels a little bit, I won't say frightening, but on a similar sort of lines. It's a little bit weird. You feel like putting your camera up. Normally it doesn't bother me to put my camera up in people's faces and smile, and you know, I use a lot of body language and so on and so forth, and a lot of psychology when I'm photographing people and when I'm on the streets. But obviously you can't do that when there's no people, so it feels a bit alien. That's the right word. Definitely feels alien. And I photographed a few people in queues, and people look at you very strangely when you're picking a camera up and doing that. It hasn't stopped me doing it, but I have felt quite strange. I felt very different. Yeah.
Whereas normally that wouldn't
No, it wouldn't bother me at all.
bother you.
No,
But people
I would,
queuing outside a shop, you mean?
No, yeah, I would smile, and I would, you know, use really positive body language, and people would normally smile back or whatever. But no, it's been a very different experience, and I think it will, as time goes on, it will be a different experience when I start going back into doing street photography. People are now getting back on the streets as we speak, and at this moment in time I'm not. I'm still sort of like staying local and carrying on with the developing that I'm doing in my skills and so on and so forth, and also looking at reopening the gallery. So I'm putting a lot of time and effort into that at the moment before I get back out on the streets. And who knows, I might change, I might not go back out on the streets. I mean, that's the beauty of photography. Sometimes, you know, your interests do change. And when you try other things, sometimes you think, wow, this is amazing. I'm going to stick with it, you know, so who knows?
So in terms of like when you say you're thinking about reopening the studio and the gallery and things, have you thought about how are you going to deal with people coming in or coming on one of your workshops, say, for instance?
Well,
how is that going to be different?
From the workshop's point of view, rather than being one-to-many, it's going to be one-to-one from now on, and that's the only thing. And, you know, the one-to-one price that we used to do was £195 per candidate, as it were. But it's going to still be £195, but it's going to be on a one-to-one basis. So that's the only way I can foresee that I can do it, really. Yeah, it'll be landscapes, it'll be street photography. It can even be studio-based things as well, because you can keep you can keep your distance. In the gallery and on location, you know, I have a Van Dapper Dan, so I can provide washing facilities. We can provide hand and masks and gloves and so on and so forth. So we'll do the best that we can. In the gallery, it's fairly straightforward. We can put a marker down on the floor for everybody to keep 2 metres apart, and only allow one person in the gallery at a time, gallery and studio. I call it a gallery, but it's a studio, darkroom and everything. The one thing I can't foresee me doing is darkroom tuition, because you have to get too close for that, so that's going to have to go on hold for quite a while, I would have thought. But you never know, you know. We're looking at ways of altering things all the time, and looking at government guidelines and so on and so forth. So when the shops are allowed to open, we will open the gallery studio again. I want to change the inside. A lot of the inside has been about me and about my work. We've got a smaller gallery and a larger gallery, so I want to use the smaller gallery for other people. They can come and showcase their work in there. It's totally clear at the moment for that. And in here, I'm going to do some more local images and make it very affordable, where everything will be shot on film and darkroom printed as is my passion. So does that answer that?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. If you have any questions, send me an email or there'll be a link. So send me an email or send me a message or whatever, and I'll answer your questions as much as I can. But I just want to try and show you the way I've changed a little bit to hopefully inspire you to just try things a little bit different and just change the way you think about everything. You know, looking at everything as you walk, wherever you walk, and look at opportunities, look at different angles. Just take shots, just shoot, and look at different ways of processing. If you're using Photoshop, great, but look at different ways of processing in Photoshop. Again, the same with Lightroom, Capture One, whatever your preference is. And for some people, there are a lot of free programs out there. Maybe try a free program as well. Just be different and just see what happens. You never know, it might change you forever. And on that note, I'm going to say goodbye and thank you.